Utah is pioneering a new approach to artificial intelligence governance, and it starts with people, not just technology. The University of Utah has released what it's calling the Responsible AI Initiative. It's a community-driven framework that's positioning Utah as a national leader in responsible AI integration. Joining us are two key voices shaping Utah's AI future and the critical questions facing the state and the people who use AI as it charts a new territory. First, we want to welcome Robin Huling. She's the president of Warner Communication and president of the West Jordan Chamber of Commerce. She's also a former chair of Women in Leadership at Silicon Slopes. Robin, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
We're also joined by Kevin Williams. He's the CEO of Ascend AI Labs, who's been a key advocate for creating AI systems that enhance human capabilities rather than replace them. Kevin, thanks for being here as well.
Great to be here.
All right, let's start with you on this one, Robin. The blueprint suggests that AI should be considered part of Utah's social fabric, not just our economy. What was the real intent behind publishing this?
I think the biggest intent is what you said, is the community and the responsibility. Part of it is making sure that Utah is on the forefront of not just AI initiatives and innovation, but on making sure humans are at the center of all of the progress, and that we are empowering not only our people, but companies and organizations to really embrace AI on the human level of it.
Kevin, is this meant to guide organizations or to unify them or signal something about what kind of AI culture Utah wants to build?
So Robin and I run the special interest group of the RAI that's focused on workforce and education. And we really wanted to put something forward that was highly practical and highly usable by Utah organizations, be they academic organizations, not-for-profits, businesses, whatever it is, something that they could pull off the shelf and have practical guidance of where the heck they need to start with this new technology. There aren't a whole lot of people who really understood where this was going, and there's a lot of confusion out there, and there's a huge appetite for embracing the technology in a way that's intelligent and responsible.
So Utah then is positioning itself as one of the first states with one of these like a community-driven AI framework. Kevin, why does that matter, and what advantage or responsibility does that give Utah in shaping how AI touches everyday life here, from classrooms to small businesses to rural economies?
So we're already starting to hear tales about specific roles and professions starting to be impacted. A lot of them are sort of obvious as far as administrative professionals, lawyers, consultants, etc. But when you look at the technology, it has the capability to impact pretty much every role that we have in Utah. And when we talk about AI, we're not just talking about ChatGPT and chatbots. We're talking about this intelligence layer that's enabling all kinds of other technologies. So the first wave that most of us are living through right now is in the large language models and the chatbots, and they're disrupting a lot of knowledge work. But the next wave that's heading our way is probably robotics and enablement of a lot of autonomous systems that can impact a lot of other areas in the economy. So whether you're a consultant or you're an educator or you're even running a small plumbing business, these technologies are going to impact you in ways that previous technologies wouldn't have. So the rise of cloud technology, yes, that impacted a lot of Utah businesses down in Silicon Slopes, but most of the rest of the state could pretty much just ignore it because it didn't really matter to their day-to-day life. This is a technology that is going to matter to all of us as a constituency, as parents, as leaders, as employees, and thus it's important to raise it up to a community level to have a community conversation about it.
Robin, I'd love to get your thoughts there as well.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think that's with AI, it's really well known in tech and startups, but in the Chamber of Commerce and small mom and pop businesses or consultants like myself that work with people first never really think that AI was going to affect them. And so that was one of the key things that I got on board with, which was actually really exciting when they started the consortium, was really asking for community involvement, not just people that are in tech and not just people that are in education, but people that are going to be affected by it. And so I think most people are afraid of the unknown, and so they just avoid it. And with AI, the exciting parts of it can be very exciting. It can level the playing field. It can make small entrepreneurs grow businesses in ways that they never could before. But there's also some real fears and warnings around it that need to be addressed and need to be focused on, because we see lots of news reports of companies embracing it the wrong way or going all in and destroying people's lives. And these are real people behind the AI innovation, and integrating it is going to disrupt the workforce. And so our goal is to make sure that not only the workforce, but the leaders are empowered to make smart, long-term, strategic, well-informed decisions to not only just help their businesses, but to help the trajectory of the workforce and the people that these are going to infect, and helping to upscale or utilize these AIs to enhance the human power, not just replace them.
You know, the blueprint warns that AI use is already happening sort of, I don't know if you'd say informally or without any kind of real oversight to it. People are using these tools without really knowing what the ultimate power and capacity of them is. And that's both exciting and also a little scary, especially in a state in Utah where we've seen, I don't know, if you look at the last wave of something that we adopted like this, social media became such a thing. And only now in the last few years are we starting to think about what could be the drawbacks of that. It feels like we're thinking about this a little bit more ahead of the curve this time when it comes to AI compared to what we did with social media. But at the same time, we've also sort of, out of necessity, been diving into it because nobody wants to be left behind. So how does the blueprint help leaders turn this approach into like that informal, unregulated use of AI and get us more organized and increase the safety and the productivity instead of just letting it be something risky?
So first, there's almost a PSA here, which is that as a marketer, I'll tell you that if a product is free, you are in some way, shape, or form the product. Yeah. And people do not recognize the fact that when they're bringing a free LLM type chatbot to their work, although it's really exciting and it's solving some of their challenges, they're probably putting data into it in a way that's being monetized by someone. And if that doesn't send a cold shudder down the back of general counsel or a CTO in an organization, it absolutely should, because the numbers are completely astonishing. Something like 72% of people are BYOAI, and that's partially because the organizations haven't established usage policies and practice and appropriate standards for use. And it's just sort of the Wild West. You give people a magic tool that's going to solve a lot of their problems, of course they're going to be bringing it in. So when we look at that from a blueprint perspective, one of the things that we approached is what are common sense policies that organizations can bring to the table to guide employee uses? What are the appropriate ways? What are the appropriate ways to use it? What are the inappropriate ways? What are the limitations? And most importantly for me as a business owner is what are the consequences for misuse? You can't just abdicate responsibility for LLM type outputs. As Robin was saying earlier, you need to overlay your humanity on top of them such that you're amplifying them. But instead, because people aren't exposed to the right level of literacy or the right sort of policy frameworks, they just assume that this magic box is going to spit out the right answer every time. And a lot of people are starting to phone in their work, which is creating risk and really sort of substandard output. The term you're hearing bandied about right now is work slop. This idea of low caliber outputs that are proliferating throughout organizations.
I love that term, BYOAI. Robin, does that am I thinking along the right lines here that that's saying companies should sort of say, this is the AI that we're going to use, and when you're here, this is what we're providing for you to use, a tool to use, and not necessarily saying, hey, do you have ChatGPT on your phone? Well, go ahead and use that for anything work-related. The making that kind of division is important. Is that what I've should understand from that?
Absolutely, because of what Kevin just said too, there are always these two extremes where companies just say no, absolutely not, no AI allowed, and then other companies aren't regulating or have no strategic policy in place at all. And there has to be a happy medium. There's all kinds of studies that just prove employees are using it. High number, 70% plus employees are using it. And there are no guardrails being put in by the actual company. And the data that's getting put on to the internet or to the open AI is going to be used. And if you aren't following policies and procedures, it could be huge consequences to your company. And then on the other aspect, if you say no, absolutely not, then you're losing the strategy of innovation. And so that's one of our first tips, is to have strategies in place, a manifesto in place, a policy in place, putting correlation or coalitions together in your workplace, and really attack it and be on the forefront of owning the AI and learning about it, and not just being reactive to, oh crap, they sent this out and it wasn't approved.
Yeah. We tell people around our office, think of it as though you have 10 interns. They can do a lot of things for you, but all of it should be double checked before anything goes outside of the building.
Exactly.
And that's been a good approach for us. All right. In this process, you emphasize judgment over tools and transparency over speed. I want to come back to you, Robin. How do you plan to turn those values into accountability?
So those values are in any high functioning work team. And so putting a foundation of trust in general, I just read a study too that a high number of coworkers say they distrust coworkers that use AI. And so already that puts in this red flag that was their trust there anyway. So establishing those basic foundations of effective communication and really being able to understand why AI is being introduced and communicating that with your team is going to prevent a lot of that misuse and misunderstanding. But having to take ownership of it and introduce it on your own terms, but allowing people to use it and fail at it, because we have 5, almost 6 generations in the workplace right now, and older generations are really leery of it, and younger generations are really leery of leaders that don't embrace it. And so there's this whole spectrum of team members in what place they're on, but allowing AI to be used and fail at it helps people understand that it's okay to learn and to grow with it and not be fearful of it. And so being able to make those mistakes and push forward, and again, we say like that needs to be part of your policy. You want people, I know of a marketing team that they only use their chat GPTs and their Claudes because they want their company name out there as much as possible, because chat GPT is being used almost as a Google. So they're being very innovative in the way that they use it. And so it really has to be what your company's goal is for strategic growth and keeping the workforce and the culture that you have established both working in the right direction for your mission.
And how much would it blow somebody's mind 40 years ago to hear the sentence, your chat GPT is being used as a Google? I think that would make somebody's head melt.
What
Kevin,
language is that? Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Kevin, what does a trustworthy AI ecosystem actually look like, especially when you're kind of approaching it at a state level, and who gets to decide what responsible means?
I think it's a really good question. I think that at the moment there is a void where no one is really doing a particularly good job of defining what responsible is. Is it human oriented? Is it low risk? How do we deal with those policy issues? There are a lot of unmet needs in this particular state that AI has the capability to start addressing. Is it responsible to be trying to use this new tooling to address those needs, even if it creates other risk? Mental health, for example comes to mind, but there's a lot of risk with that, indeed. So we don't really know yet, but the feeling is that it has to be a consensus that is human-oriented and acknowledging some of the externalities here, because the externalities are not just about jobs, they're about environmental impact, They could be about ill use of the tools for political or other reasons. There are so many risks here. But yet, the genie is out of the bottle, right? This isn't something that we can roll back the clock. In fact, I don't think that this is particularly well understood, but if you just cut off the technology today and said, okay, that's it, no more, it would still be completely earth-changing for all of us over the next 10 or 15 years, just using where it is right now. And the technology is frankly showing no sign of slowing yet. So we're going to have to deal with these externalities. It can't be shoved back into the bottle, and therefore coming up with some guardrails around it that make sense is what we're going to need to lean into. It doesn't feel like there's any real chance of any sort of federal guidance around this. So on a state level, individual states are trying to address what that means. Now that's going to create all kinds of other complexities for commercial applications, and frankly it's going to be a little bit hairy, but somebody's got to do it. And Utah feels like it is ahead of the curve as far as being pragmatic, reasonably business focused, but very aware of a lot of the risks. And you had mentioned social media earlier. Utah is one of the states that has taken a very strong stand about social media and social media availability and use. And I would expect, as a non-policy person, that that's sort of the direction that they're going to take on LLMs as well.
All right, I'm going to get you both out of here on this question. Same question to each one of you. And Robin, let's start with you. If this blueprint works, if it's successful, if it works out the way you hope, if it has the influence you want it to have, what's different 5 years from now?
I think our biggest goal is preparation and foundation for companies to be successful with the actual AI integration, and that workforces aren't just being displaced, they're being upskilled, being able to do more with less time. So the biggest goal for all of us is that humans and the people in the residents of Utah and beyond have happy, successful lives that have potential for growth in their careers. And so this is an introduction. If you haven't even heard of AI, or if you don't have a plan, this is your starting point, so that you, one, get to be part of the conversation. I think that's the biggest part, is being part of the conversation. And you can only do that if you prioritize literacy and understanding the technology, so that we set ourselves up for success. So in 5 years, we're going to look at more educational classes and opportunities for citizens to take local workshops and certificates on the easy levels, like community education classes, that it is just part of the routine that everybody from elementary school to senior citizens, it's in their everyday life and comfortable.
Kevin?
For me.
So I'm going to take sort of a little bit of the utopian view here, that part of one of our objectives is that to educate people on the fact that AI isn't a tool. Excel is a tool. You open Excel, you want to do some arithmetic, or you want to do a financial analysis, you open Excel and you tuck it away at the end of the day. AI, and generative AI in particular, is a pervasive general purpose technology that is going to touch pretty much every aspect of how we work and how we think. And it is going to, in a positive view, help amplify research and work and all kinds of things, and ideally help us do away with some of the things that we don't particularly like to do. I often describe this like pyramid of things that organizations want to accomplish, and at the very top are these business-changing things that completely change everything. But the bottom rungs of the pyramid are all about doing away the things that add friction to your daily life. So if you can remove friction from the things you're doing every day, you get to focus on the things that are really important to you and important to your work and important to your research or whatever it might be. And that's a remarkable opportunity that can have external benefits all over the place. The bet is that those benefits in aggregate are going to outweigh some of the societal costs. My fear is that a lot of the societal and environmental costs are going to be front-loaded into the process. And as a society, both in Utah and beyond, we're going to have to be ready for that and be open-eyed as far as what some of those costs are. And as Robin was just saying, be equipping people with skills such that they can operate in this new paradigm.
If you want to learn more about the AI Blueprint, you can go to rai.utah.edu/AI-blueprint. We'll put that up on the screen so everyone can see it. Robin Huling, Kevin Williams, thanks so much for your insight on this and for the work you're doing to try to get us off to the right start when it comes to overseeing how we implement this technology into our lives.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, great to be here.